All right. So we are writing the order of transformation. So given this log, you can see that I'm actually just going to rewrite it. I'm going to rewrite it so that this is a little better, or at least easier for me to read. So negative log base 2 negative x plus 2 minus 3. All right, so you can see that there's two negatives, one on the outside and one on the inside. This means that there's going to be a shift, flip over the x and flip over the y. That's the second step though. So our first step is going to be looking inside and seeing that it's plus 2, which means that there's a shift left 2. So it's going to be our first step. Now our second and third step are going to be those two ones. Flip over the x-axis and then flip over the y-axis. And we're going to look at the end of our equation, which is negative 3 right here. And that is going to be a shift down. All right, so now that we have that, we're going to need our domain, and we're going to need to see if there's any vertical or horizontal asymptotes. And then we need to find 2 points. So to find the domain, you're going to set the inside of the log greater than 0. So this part, I'm going to be setting that greater than 0. So well, actually, I rewrote it here, so let's just use that. Negative x plus 2 is greater than 0. And that's because anything inside of the log has to be greater than 0. Like there's never a time where the inside would be less than 0, because then it would be undefined. So let's see, so now we have negative x is greater than negative 2. So x is less than 2. So that means that our domain is going to be negative infinity, comma 2. Okay. And now for our vertical asymptote, we're going to check for that. It's going to be at setting equal negative x plus 2 equal to 0. So negative x is equal to negative 2. So x is equal to 2. So there's a vertical asymptote at x is equal to 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and dot that off right now. This is going to be really hard to graph when it's on the screen, but it should be okay. All right, so we got that. And then now we're basically just going to plug in some numbers that we know will work with the base 2. So like, what could I plug into x to make it, let's say 1, right? So if I did a negative 1, input it in. Or just 1 actually, because it'll turn negative, right? So let's do that here. And I chose 1 because when you do 1 minus 2, it's going to be, or sorry, negative 1 plus 2 log base 2, negative 1 plus 2. And it's negative because it's actually negative times 1 plus 2. And then that's going to be, this is going to turn into log base 2 of 1, and anything that is to the 1 actually just becomes 0. So you're going to just be left with -3, right? 0 minus 3 is -3. So that's one of our points, right? Because you have your x, and then you just found your y here, because f of 1 is going to equal -3. So now we have one of our points, and then it's also nice to find a y-intercept. So we're going to plug in a 0. So let's see, 1 comma -3. I'm going to go ahead and graph that now. -3. Right, so right there, and then just make sure that you label everything. And I'm going to draw it under because I know based on the transformations, the graph is going to look something like this, right? So right, we have one there. Then I'm going to go ahead and get one for the y-intercept, and that's just by setting it equal to 0, right? So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. F of 0 the 0 is equal to the log base 2. And it's going to actually be -0 technically, but that's not going to do anything. -0 plus 2. Oh, dang it. Plus 2 minus 3. So then it's going to be 1 minus 3, right? That's because log base 2 to the second is always 1. So then we're going to have that. Log base 2 to 2 is 1, because 2 to the power of 1 is 2, right? So then 1 minus 3 is going to equal -4. So it's going to be 0 comma -4. So now you have your interception. So I'll go ahead and put that right there. I'm going to label 0 comma -4. Then you're going to go ahead and just draw it. So it's going to be somewhere like here. And then it's going to get really, really, really close, but it's never going to touch it. So it should be more something like that. And my line's not perfect, but you want it to hit right here and then go through like that. But it will never hit the vertical asymptote. It always approaches it, and you can see that based on, it's going to be based on our domain, -infinity, comma 2, but it's an open bracket, so it'll never hit that.